The sub 4 meter compact SUV space is one of the most saturated in India today, but only one has ever been able to make enthusiasts go weak at the knees: the Ford EcoSport. Even today, if you say that any of the current crop of SUVs drives better than this, the enthusiasts will be ready to cancel you. We all know Ford left India in a huff, but does that mean you shouldn't buy one in 2025? That's what we're here to find out. Welcome to Half Price Heroes, your detailed buying guide on the Ford EcoSport. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification icon to stay notified. The EcoSport was developed for the Brazilian market under the codename Amazon Project. This compact SUV was built on the foundations of the European Fiesta, offering practicality and ruggedness. India received the second-gen EcoSport in 2013, also based on the Fiesta platform. It created quite a buzz, capitalizing on the newly introduced sub-4 meter small car excise duty. Ford priced the EcoSport aggressively at just Rs 5.59 lakh, making it an irresistible proposition for buyers. The result? Long queues at Ford showrooms and an SUV that became a game changer for the segment. And it wasn't just the pricing that got people talking. This was actually a shockingly good product. It could be had with either a 1.5 litre diesel, a 1.5 litre petrol, or a 1 litre EcoBoost, much before anyone was offering a compact SUV with a turbo petrol. And then there was the handling. Now the Fiesta is one of the best handling hatchbacks around, and it passed on those genes to the EcoSport. Even today, this has a nice direct steering. It feels really light on its feet. It feels tight. Everything feels really well put together. It's really a fun car to drive. Ride quality is not great. Ford did soften it up a bit for the facelift in 2017, but if you're looking at one of the earlier cars and you find that the ride quality is a bit on the stiff side, that was normal. If you find that's uncomfortable, then make sure you look at a facelift car and don't discount the EcoSport altogether. In 2015, the EcoSport received its first update. The diesel variant gained 9 bhp, bringing the total to 99 bhp. Ford also retrofitted a touchscreen to replace the dated dot matrix display. The 2017 facelift introduced a refreshed front end and a new 1.5 litre Dragon naturally aspirated engine, producing 123 bhp and 150 Nm, replacing the old Sigma engine. The high-tech 6-speed dual-clutch automatic was replaced with a more conventional 6-speed torque converter, and in 2020, BS6 norms led to the discontinuation of the much-loved EcoBoost engine. The EcoSport received its final update in 2021, the SE variant, shortly before Ford ceased operations in India. When the EcoSport was launched in 2013, diesel was still very popular, which is why the TDCi sold really well, and a lot of them are actually still on the road. If you do a lot of miles, it's still a very good engine. It's very, very efficient. It has good power, it's reasonably smooth, it's easy to drive in the city, and if you're doing a lot of miles, it makes a lot of sense even in 2025. People are a bit apprehensive about diesels these days, so let's talk about the petrols. There was the 1 litre EcoBoost engine, and that is a very, very good engine. It won Engine of the Year multiple times during its run. But in India, it was a fully imported unit, and that means parts are a little bit on the expensive side compared to the other two engines. And then there was the NatAsp engines. At launch, the EcoSport came with the Sigma engine, which was pretty underpowered, and it could be mated with a twin clutch automatic. That gearbox is very troublesome, and that engine gearbox combination is best avoided. At the facelift in 2017, the EcoSport got the Dragon 1.5 litre engine, 121 bhp. It's almost as much as the EcoBoost, and in terms of performance, it is more than adequate. It's mated to a nice 5-speed gearbox, and if you wanted, you could option a proper torque converter automatic, which is a lot more reliable. Also, the engine was localized, so that means parts are significantly cheaper than the EcoBoost. If it was my money in 2025, the 1.5 litre Dragon engine is the one I would get. Once you've chosen the variant you want, how do you find the right EcoSport? Certified pre-owned cars are available from several online car trade platforms. However, the real bargains are from direct owners. Despite Ford's departure, there are plenty of EcoSports out there, and owners are a tight-knit community. Seek help on the forums to find a great EcoSport. Now that you've found the car that you want, what do you need to inspect on a used EcoSport? Well, Fords are generally built quite tough, so paint quality is excellent and panel gaps should be quite tight. Accident damage can be a little bit difficult to repair if you can't find parts near you. But the good thing is Ford uses a child parts strategy. So that means if you end up breaking one of these or the lower half of the bumper, you can replace only that. You don't need to replace the entire bumper. On the side as well, some owners report that these trim pieces come loose after a while. Even the bottom half, the cladding can come loose after a while. So make sure you check for that. The roof rails are also something that can come loose. So make sure you check that. And finally at the back, make sure that the tailgate opens properly. This uses an electric actuator. So make sure it works when you press the button. The first thing to check on the interior of an EcoSport is all the electricals, the window switches, the mirrors, even the aircon control. Some owners report problems that these controls don't work all the time. So make sure you check for that. Also, some cars have had problems with the aircon leaking water into the car. So make sure you check the carpets if they are damp and make sure the aircon is working properly. The later cars, the facelifted cars, had a much better audio system and an infotainment system as well with Android Auto. The earlier cars, however, came with just Bluetooth and the sync system. The problem is upgrading that to a later system is quite difficult. So make sure that the original system works properly. Now it's time for a test drive. So what do you need to check on a test drive? Well, do all your usual checks for noises coming from the suspension, from the brakes, from the gearbox, from the engine. But on the EcoSport diesel in particular, the clutch is known to wear at about 50,000-60,000 kilometers, so make sure that is in good order. Some people also report problems slotting into reverse gear, so make sure you stop somewhere safe and figure out if that works properly. Also check for an ABS warning light on the dashboard. Some owners report the ABS light flashes, but it can be traced back to a 12-volt battery which is weak or on its way out. If the battery has been changed and it is new but the ABS warning light refuses to go away, then it could be a problem with the ABS control module or even the wheel speed sensors. The ABS control module depends on the 12-volt battery, which is why the fault does show up every once in a while when the battery is on its way out. The TCM or the transmission control module on the automatics also depends on that 12-volt battery. So if you're test driving an automatic, torque converter automatic, and it has trouble shifting into gear or it is not moving when the car is in drive, then there could be a problem with the battery itself. But if the battery is new, then there could be a bigger problem with the TCM. But bigger problems like this will need us to visit a workshop. So what do you need to watch out for on an EcoSport? Let's start with the diesels. Now early on, some diesel engines were reported to have total failure, but they were replaced under warranty, and any cars that are still on the road shouldn't be a problem. Diesels, particularly high mileage ones, also consume a fair bit of engine oil. So ask the owner about this and check the oil levels yourself. Most owners will get around this by topping up the engine oil between services before a full engine rebuild is required. A more common problem with the diesels has to do with the diesel particulate filter or the DPF on BS6 cars. Now this tends to get clogged if the car has been driven mostly at low speed in the city, and it shows up as low power, low performance, and a warning on the dash telling you to clean the DPF filter by driving it. Some say the car has to be driven at about 2500 RPM for at least 20 minutes every couple of weeks. Ford updated the software on the diesels to reduce this problem, and they also issued a recall in 2021. However, they only replaced parts on vehicles that showed higher than normal emissions. The diesel also runs a timing belt, so make sure that has been changed if the car has been driven more than 120,000 kilometers or is older than 5 years old. One common complaint with the petrol engine EcoSports has to do with the oil pump failing. Both the EcoBoost and the Dragon engine are susceptible to this. Now the oil pumps are driven by a belt rather than gears, which is a strange choice. When the belt breaks, the oil pump stops working and it is starving the engine of oil, which can lead to serious failure. The tensioner also fails with similar results. Ford revised the tensioner later, but you can never be too sure. So make sure the oil pump belt is checked at least every couple of years. Another problem with the oil system has to do with the timing belt. This also runs within oil, so over time the rubber wears out, mixes with the oil and blocks the oil pump. This can be a serious problem. Ford later revised the timing belt with a different chemistry which is less susceptible to wear, and they also reduced the service intervals of the timing belt. Low quality oil can also negatively impact how the belt wears, so make sure the owner has been using high quality lubricants. Another problem has to do with the rear twist beam suspension. Ford recalled cars built between November 2013 and April 2014 for an issue with a pivot bolt which was not fully tightened. Make sure that recall work has been done. As always, it's highly recommended that you get your car fully serviced after purchase, and to give you an idea how much that might cost, here's a list for your reference. And now for some mods. The infotainment system on early EcoSports is quite dated by now, but replacing it is not quite so easy. Make sure you check the forums to figure out how people have actually gone about this system. Next up, wheels. This car is running on 16-inch wheels, but the EcoSport also came with 17s. If you want to upgrade to them, you can source a second-hand set of those with some premium tires, which should help the handling, but it will also cost you a little bit of ride comfort. The EcoBoost and the TDCi are quite easy to tune. A stage 1 tune will unlock about 15 to 20 bhp for roughly around 20 to 25,000 rupees. Now we have to address the elephant in the room, Ford's departure from India. Initial used car values did take a hit after the announcement, but they have now stabilized. Also, concerns about the availability of spares and service have mostly been addressed, especially in Tier 1 cities. Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities are still a bit of an unknown, so it's always good to go to the Ford website and check for your nearest Ford touchpoint before you commit to buying one of these. Ford has committed to providing spares and service until 2031, but knowing that there are so many cars still on the road, that might even extend a little bit more. So how much should you pay for a used EcoSport? At the time of making this video, prices can range between 4 and 8 lakhs. Pre-facelift cars like this one can cost between 4 and 5 lakhs, whether they are petrol or diesel. But in my opinion, you should stretch for the facelift. 6 lakhs for a facelifted petrol manual is, in my opinion, the sweet spot. There's no doubt that the EcoSport is one of the best compact SUVs we've ever gotten in India. And even today, as a used car, it provides excellent value for money. There have always been some lingering concerns and doubts about buying a used one, so I hope this video has gone some way in clearing them up. As always, if you like this video, do share it with your friends, leave us a comment, leave us a thumbs up, and stay tuned for more videos just like this.